Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the award ceremony recognizing the heroism and valor of 3 Americans. Please stand for the arrival of the official party. The Honorable Ash Carter, the Secretary of Defense. General Paul Selva, Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And our heroes, Specialist Alek Skarlatos, Airman First Class Spencer Stone, Mr. Anthony Sept. Please remain standing for the presentation of colors, the singing of our national anthem performed by Sergeant First Class Martha Crable, and the invocation delivered by Pentagon Chaplain Kenneth Williams.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Holster! Whatever your tradition, I invite you to join with me in prayer. Gracious and merciful God, Creator, Sustainer, and Protector of life, as King Solomon said, we may plan our journey through life, but you guide our steps. I thank you for guiding the steps of Specialist Alek Skarlatos, Airman First Class Spencer Stone, and Mr. Anthony Sadler, placing them in the right place and at the right time with the right attitude to neutralize the threat of death, injury, and fear. Thank you for their vigilance, preparation, and readiness as they sprang to action in stopping the terrorists. Thank you for the lives that were saved and changed as a result of their heroic actions, lives of people who will continue in making an impact in this world and sparing loved ones the grief of loss. May we also be vigilant and prepared to confront the evils of prejudice, discrimination, injustice, and the murder of innocent lives for personal or political gain. Just as these 3 were the answer to someone's prayer, may we realize that we also may be the answer to someone's prayer, someone in need of protection, compassion, encouragement, or justice. With the distress and unrest in the world today, may we as a nation and as individuals realize that peace, safety, and security is the result of selfless, loving, and courageous acts such as these. May you grant Special Skarlatos, Airman Stone, and Mr. Sadler health and healing, joy and satisfaction, wisdom and discernment, and success and accomplishment all the days of their lives. Thank you for, and may you bless, all these amazing servants who work within the walls of this building, ensuring the success of our military and our nation. God bless America. Amen.
Please be seated. Please be seated. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the 10th Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Paul Selva.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Albert Einstein once said that this world is a very dangerous place, not because of the people who wish to do evil, but because there are so few of us that try to make a difference and do anything about it. Mr. Secretary, Senator Feinstein, representatives from the states of California and Oregon, distinguished visitors, members of our honorees family, it is a privilege to share this stage with three young men who did something about evil. Today we're here to honor Specialist Alek Skarlatos, Airman First Class Spencer Stone, and Mr. Anthony Sadler for what they did in their heroic action that day on a train bound for Paris. We're here to honor their bravery and their willingness to act. It's awful difficult for us to imagine what might have happened on that train that day had they not taken action. And for that heroism, we are here to present the Soldier's Medal and the Airman's Medal, the service's highest award for members who have distinguished themselves in non-combat heroic action, which involved risking their own lives, as well as the Medal of Valor, a medal that was brought into being after September 11th, 2001 for civilians who took the same risk. I stand before you today as a person who owes his life to an airman. That airman risked his life to save mine, not unlike these three young men did that day on that train. And I have lived my life and led my career with the abiding belief that when each of us who wear this uniform or choose to defend this nation are called, we will do the right thing. Gentlemen, thank you for acting. Thank you for being people that cared enough to make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce to you our Secretary of Defense, Ashton Carter.
Good afternoon. General Selva, thank you. Little less than a month ago, three childhood friends were on a train bound for Paris when they heard a gunshot. Amid screams and commotion of the passengers, they quickly focused on a man wielding an AK-47. Almost instantly, one of them said, "Let's go," and the three ran toward the shooter. Those three friends are with us here today. Thank you, Alek, Spencer, and Anthony, for what you did on that train and for joining us here. Distinguished guests, Senator Feinstein, Senator Wyden, Senator Merkley, Congressman Barra, colleagues here, past and present, members of the Defense Department and community, it's a pleasure to come together to welcome and recognize Alek, Spencer, and Anthony, welcome them home, to celebrate the heroic action they took at great risk to themselves, and to award them our highest commendations. We also want to recognize some of their friends and families here today to all of you, thank you. You raised some great kids. I'm glad. Well done. Not bad, huh? Alek is a National Guardsman. After returning home from a deployment to Afghanistan, he recently chose to enlist. Spencer is a medic based at Logis Air Base in Portugal, and next month he's headed to Travis Air Base, California. And Anthony is starting his year at Sacramento State University, where I'm sure he'll have the best what I did on summer vacation story of anybody. And that's because after Alek said, let's go, he and Spencer and Anthony sprinted toward the gunman while he trained his rifle on them. Spencer tackled the assailant, and the three worked to disarm him. As we know, Spencer was stabbed in that effort. After they knocked out the gunman, they tended to other injured on board before paramedics and police arrived. It's an amazing story, right out of a movie. And Alek, Spencer, and Anthony have been rightly celebrated on both sides of the Atlantic. But I want to focus on the moment when they heard the gunshot and when they took off toward it. Think about that moment. When some took cover and ran, when others were unsure what to do, these three friends said, let's go. And if that sounds familiar, it's because it is. Last week, for example, we gathered here as a community to mark the anniversary of the September 11th attacks. On that day, on United Flight 93, a group of passengers with the words, let's roll, stood up and fought back against the terrorists who had aimed the plane toward Washington. And while these heroes were lost, we will always remember and appreciate their courage and sacrifice. Let's go should also ring true to many in this building because it speaks to our mission here. Each member of the Defense Department, in uniform and civilian, has chosen to dedicate themselves to standing between order and disorder, between the way of life we cherish and those who would threaten it. And that's one reason that America has the finest fighting force the world has ever known. Like Alek and Spencer, each man and woman who serves in our defense enterprise has looked at that world and at those risks and said, let's go. It's a perfect example of the force that we have now and the force of the future. Active duty, guard, and civilian team together to produce a powerful force, acting agilely in concert, each one important. And it's also familiar because the words let's go are as American as these three friends are. Time and again, challenge after challenge, the sound of gunshots and danger, the world has turned to the United States, to its military for help. And generation after generation, we've answered with a simple let's go. And the resolve necessary to beat back dangers and stand up for the values so many around the world hold dear. Ours is a world full of opportunities and challenges. Thanks to young guardsmen and airmen like Alek and Spencer, and many other soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines like them, and young citizens like Anthony, I'm confident that we will continue to grasp hold of the bright opportunities and meet the evil challenges, echoing these same simple, stirring words of theirs, let's go. From the Pentagon to you three guys, well done.
Specialist Alek Skarlatos and General Selva, please join Secretary Carter in front of the flags. Mr. Fanning, General Grass, and Sergeant Major Brush, please join for the award presentation on stage. Attention to orders. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress 2 July 1926, has awarded the Soldier's Medal to Specialist Alexander Skarlatos for heroism above and beyond the call of duty on 21 August 2015. Specialist Skarlatos distinguished himself in a courageous manner, voluntarily accepting risk to his own life on board a high-speed train carrying hundreds of passengers in the proximity of the French and Belgian borders. Specialist Skarlatos' brave actions prevented a potentially catastrophic loss of life. Specialist Skarlatos, unarmed, led the effort to confront a gun-wielding assailant. He physically disarmed, subdued, and restrained the attacker. This selfless act of courage prevented potential massive casualties. Thanks to Specialist Skarlatos' heroic efforts, minimal injuries were sustained by passengers. His actions are in keeping with the finest traditions of the 186th Infantry Regiment and the United States Army. We are honored to have congressional delegation from California and Oregon join us for this special presentation. Senator Feinstein, Senator Wyden, Senator Merkley, Dr. Barra, please join Specialist Skarlatos on stage for a photo. Thank you, Specialist Skarlatos, elected officials, and service leadership. Airman First Class Stone, please join Secretary Carter and General Selva in front of the flags. Secretary James, General Welsh, Chief Master Sergeant Cody, please join for the award presentation on stage. Attention to orders. The award of the Airman's Medal to Spencer J. Stone. Airman First Class Spencer J. Stone distinguished himself by heroism involving voluntary risk of life while traveling on a high-speed train in Belgium, en route from Amsterdam, Netherlands to Paris on 21 August 2015. On that date, Airman Stone immediately responded after seeing a heavily armed gunman enter his train car prepared to fire an AK-47 assault rifle. Without regard for his personal safety and without hesitation, he sprinted unarmed towards the gunman and brought him to the ground. The gunman was armed with the assault rifle, an automatic pistol, 270 rounds of ammunition, a box cutter, and a bottle of gasoline. An intense physical altercation ensued, and despite receiving multiple lacerations on his face, neck, and thumb, Airman Stone, with the help of other passengers, was able to disarm the gunman. After choking the gunman to the point of unconsciousness, Airman Stone ensured he was restrained and unable to move. Next, completely ignoring his own injuries, Airman Stone exhibited extraordinary poise while rendering critical life-saving medical care to stop the bleeding caused by a gunshot wound to the neck suffered by another passenger. Airman Stone's decisive actions prevented the gunman from opening fire on unarmed civilians, potentially saving the lives of hundreds of passengers on board, and definitely saving the life of a wounded passenger. The exemplary courage and heroism displayed by Airman Stone reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Attention to orders. The Purple Heart is awarded to Airman First Class Spencer J. Stone. Airman First Class Stone was wounded in an attack while on board a French-operated Amsterdam to Paris high-speed train in the vicinity of the border between Belgium and France on 21 August 2015. Airman Stone joined the effort to confront and subdue a foreign national motivated by radical religious influence who intended to cause mass harm to the occupants of the train. As a long-standing priority target for multiple terrorist organizations, France has suffered several attacks during 2015. In my judgment, for the purposes of this award, these circumstances meet the executive order criteria for an international terrorist attack against a foreign nation friendly to the United States. We are honored to have congressional delegation from California join us for this special presentation. Senator Feinstein and Dr. Barra, please join Airman Stone on stage for a photo. Thank you, Airman Stone, elected officials, and service leadership. Mr. Anthony Sadler, Please join Secretary Carter and General Selva in front of the flags. Deputy Secretary Work, please join for the award presentation on the stage. Attention to orders. The award of the Office of Secretary of Defense Medal for Valor to Anthony Sadler. On August 21, 2015, Mr. Anthony Sadler boarded a train in Amsterdam, Netherlands, carrying hundreds of passengers destined for Paris, France. 2 hours into the trip, just after crossing the border into France, witnesses reported an individual entering a lavatory along with his luggage. The individual emerged from the lavatory sometime later, brandishing an AK-47 assault rifle. After hearing a struggle, and while unarmed, Mr. Sadler charged at the gunman, alongside 2 U.S. service members. He disarmed and subdued the gunman. After assisting in the tying up of the gunman, Mr. Sadler reassured that passengers that they were no longer in danger. Reports from witnesses and investigative agencies after the incident indicated that the gunman was heavily armed with approximately 270 rounds of ammunition and was on a European watch list of questionable individuals. Mr. Sadler distinguished himself in a heroic manner by voluntarily accepting risk to his own life, preventing potential catastrophic loss of life, and protecting the lives of 2 U.S. service members. We are honored to have the congressional delegation from California join us for this special presentation. Senator Feinstein and Dr. Berra, please join Mr. Sadler on stage for a photo. Thank you, Mr. Sadler, elected officials, and Department of Defense leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving another round of applause to these 3 Americans. Please remain standing for the playing of the Armed Forces Service Medley by the U.S. Army Band Brass Quintet.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save, or fight and die, I Coast Guard we are for you. Off we go moving to the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Atom boys, give her the gun, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting our fame from under, up with one hell of a run. We live in fame, or go down in fame. Ain't nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. Anchors away, my boy, anchors away. Farewell to foreign shores, we sail at break of day, through our last night on shore, drink to the foam, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battle in the air, land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep Morana clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence out and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the departure of the official party.